what? He's like, what do you mean a wrestling manual? What's this? Like, are we talking Olympics? I was like, no, WWF. I was like, Monday Night Raw, trying to feed him all this information.
Yeah.
He was like, come on, you've got to get a real job. That was the whole thing. You've got to get a real job. And it would have been very easy to have those dreams squashed. I mean, the first thing I did when I got out of school, I actually made a few calls. Alex Shane was very big in the scene at the time. He was on TalkSport. And I remember just calling in, and then I got his details somehow, and that was it. I was off to the tracks. But there's so many times, like you say, people, I think with wrestling, like you said about training, it's not tangible enough for other people to see what you're doing and what you're trying to get out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, totally agree. And you was talking about, obviously you're an amazing athlete in other stuff. Talk us to us a little bit about what was some of the other sports that you was into as you was growing up and still do now.
I always did sport. Like at school, it was just, obviously everyone's got to do everything. Mm-hmm. And I was just very good at it. So I got picked for all the teams to stuff. Like I did a lot of netball. I did a lot of track and field. I did cross country. So I've always been good at sport. And I enjoyed like the training for it and stuff and like doing the competitions. But it just wasn't something I was like passionate about. Like I didn't get like a kick out of it. Like I kind of like doing the competition, obviously like winning. Mm-hmm. But like I just, I enjoyed it, and I think it played a big part for me because I just had this mentality all the time. Like before I started wrestling training, I could never even miss the gym. Like, So this was before I was even taking that sort of first step, I suppose. I was already taking steps in a way because I was like, you can't miss the gym tonight. You've got to get home tonight and go to the gym. Like I just literally from doing sports like that, it just forced me to always be like, you've got to get in the gym. And I think that massively helped because when it came to training, I mean, training is always a shock to the system. Like when you start wrestling training, you're never ready for it. It's such a different thing, but I think it massively helped just with like the fitness thing and just being able to sort of keep up with everything at first, because, if you're not going in the gym and then you step to wrestling training, that's going to be like a real big wake up. So, I think it massively helped. And yeah, I did loads of sport. I just don't know, it just sort of happened for me.
And I don't know if I should ask this question or not. I asked Paul this last time and it went tragically wrong. What team are you supporting?
Well, I support the same team as Paul. I support Arsenal.
Oh no, it's another one. I should have kept my mouth shut. Really?
I see him because I've got him on Twitter. I saw him tweet about Arsenal and stuff. I know he's an Arsenal fan, so yeah.
Then the worst thing about it for me is I can't even have a debate with him because he'll get so irate. There's no point.
Yeah, if you start debating with me, I'm just going to get pulled into the Skype call.
Yeah,
and he can,
exactly. So I'm going to finish that one early here on that one. So obviously people are familiar as well. Like I had some emails in from you, and we had like a couple asking about like what it was like for the whole WWE tryout stuff.
Yeah.
That experience, like for you, was that something that you went in and did you have expectations of, wanting to get in now, or was this just part of the process of finding out what you need more or less of, or what else, and just having that experience? Because I mean, you're so young, it seemed like quite an early time to go and do that. But what was the experience like for you and coming out of that?
I'll tell you a funny story actually. Well, it's just I remember I went Monday Night Raw was in the UK. And me and my friend went, and obviously she's a big wrestling fan. We going to see Raw, and she was talking to me about it. She was at this point I had 3 matches, and she's like, what's happening? And we were talking about WWE, and I was like, yeah, like I definitely want to do it in my future. I'm no way near ready now. Like, oh my god, like I'd never be able to do it now. The next morning I wake up and check my emails, and I was invited to a tryout, and it was surreal because I was like looking at it, and I sent it to my coach, and I was like, is this real? Like, it's just like a joke. Because, obviously my emails on my like Instagram and stuff. So I wasn't sure if someone was like having a, having a laugh. Obviously I'm looking at the email thinking this looks legit. Like I sent it to my coach. He went, yeah. And I was like, what? Like, I couldn't believe it. Like I was, obviously buzzing that day. I was like smiling from ear to ear, but I couldn't really tell anyone.
Yeah.
I was just sitting there so happy, but And yeah, obviously I had a good chat with my coach, and I was like, you know, I've only had 3 matches. Like, obviously, you know, WWE is like my goal, and you know, I had loads of conversations with him about it, and I've always been working towards that. But you know, obviously, I don't think I'm ready yet. And he's like, you know, just show them what you can do. Like, you know, it's going to be a fantastic learning opportunity. It's going to be a fantastic opportunity to show them who you are and your passion, your work ethic, and you know, your athleticism and all of that. So just, you know, give it everything and just make an impression. So, you know, like I said, before I was even training, I was training to be a WWE superstar in a way, because I would always go in the gym. Like, I was so regimented in my training. And once I started wrestling training, I would train like twice a week with wrestling, or 3 times if they had 3 sessions on. So up until this point, I was working so hard. So I just upped that as much as possible, going to a tryout and just put my best sort of presentation across as possible, like from all aspects, from the promos to the fitness side of it, to the wrestling side, to the technical side, and just really just gave my best. And I learned so much from doing it. And obviously, you know, I'm so new, but the feedback I got was really helpful and really reassuring as well. And just, it let me know what I need to do to not only maybe get close to WWE, but to be better as a wrestler, you know, like, and some of it was things that I was already doing anyway, like, but there were some things I hadn't thought of yet. And it was just so surreal to have it so early on, but I'm so glad that I did, because I got so much helpful feedback so early on to just put me on the right path straight away, to be like, this is what I need to do, and they know who I am. And you know, like, so I'm at first when I found out, I was like, I've only had 3 matches, but then I was like, they know I've only had 3 matches, but they've still asked me to come along, so you know, they're not expecting me to be like AJ Styles, you know what I mean? But you know, they know who I am and what to expect of me, and it's just about sort of giving my best effort and sort of learning as much as possible. So yeah,
that is crazy. 3 matches, but you know what? I think this is why you're set up better, because I think that, like, I've heard a lot of stories where people have gone there and where they've been wrestling quite a long time, they're actually having to undo a lot of how they've been trained. And so by having this so early on in your career, I think that's going to set you up like a lot better going forward. Like, that would be my takeaway from it, because I always hear people that go there and they're like, it wasn't what I expected. I thought it was going to be totally different, and what I was doing wasn't what they wanted, etc., etc. And I think they have to sort of, it hits them hard because they've been doing it for so long. They've been having success on maybe like the indie circuits and stuff, but like WWE can be a totally different beast sometimes. You know, it's a television show as well as anything else, and there's so many parts to it. But I think, you know, if you're adjustable and adaptable and you're open-minded, I think you've got a really good chance. But I think having like just 3 matches and then having all that advice from them, that's going to like really set you apart, I think, going forward in what you're doing, along with obviously all the good work. Now, obviously coming out of that, like, who have been some of your sort of best opponents been, and sort of like matches, like who do you think you've learned the most from when you've been in the ring?
Oh gosh, it's hard to think. I mean, to be honest, I always say Nina, because Nina Samuels, I mean, she's just fantastic. Like, it's hard to describe, but she just knows what she's doing. Like, she's just, I mean, I had my debut against her. So whenever I wrestle Nina, I've wrestled her 3 times now, which is, I mean, I feel really fortunate to have wrestled her 3 times. And like, I've only been wrestling for like a year. So, you know, to be able to wrestle someone like that 3 times is fantastic. But, you know, so she was my first match. And it's really weird because, you know, your debut, like, you're so nervous. And I always kind of get that feeling when I wrestle her. I don't know if it's just like the association of just like, you know, my debut thing. So, you know, when I wrestle her, like the second time I wrestled her, I was like, I felt good, but I was like, I feel like I could have been better. Like I could have done more. And like by the time I wrestled her the 3rd time, and that was like my 39th match. So I know exactly what match it was. You know, I'd done the All-Star Week. I'd really been wrestling a lot. So like my work rate had gone up, and just being able to work someone that good, and because I had improved, I got so much out of working her. I felt confident. Watching it back, like the little in-between moments were so much better, and we gelled really well together. So she's definitely like one of my favorite opponents. She's definitely someone that I've learned a lot from. in many different ways, from like really simplistic things in my debut to my latest match with her, where it was just little details that could be just improved a little bit, and it makes such a massive difference. And like talking to her beforehand, talking about the psychology and things, and she, it just makes so much sense. And so she's definitely someone who I love to wrestle. And and you know what, like a lot of my fans as well love it when I wrestle her. They're always like, right. Oh my god, you're wrestling Nina again. Like, I don't know. So I feel like it's like my biggest rivalry, because she beat me on my debut. So I feel like that's like the big story. But so definitely Nina, and then also Monica, who I wrestled a lot at All Star. Yep. My favorite match is actually a singles match I had with Monica at Fairfield Halls, just because it was towards the end of wrestling for a week. I'd been doing a lot of mixed tags and stuff, and we got the singles match. And I love working Monica. She's fantastic. She's brilliant heel. She's really good at wrestling, like, and she's such a lovely person too. And so, we really gelled together as people. And then we had the singles match, and the crowd just loved it. Like, they just were so into it. I felt like everything really just finally, like the dots were like filled, if that makes sense. Like finally, like everything had just come together. Like when I have matches normally, I watch it back and I think, oh, that just looks a bit disconnected or disjointed, and oh, like, why did I do that? Like there's always one or two things missing where I'm at in training. And watching that match, I mean, yeah, there was things that can be improved. I'm so new, and I've got ways to go, but for me, I felt like that was really representative of where I was at, because everything had come together. Like the crowd work, my physique, the story we told, the movement, everything. Just, I was so pleased with it, because I thought, I'm actually proud of myself for the first time, because I'm never ever proud of my matches. And I left that match and I thought that makes me feel really good, and the crowd loved it so much. So I was really pleased with that one as well.
Now, I get a sense from you that, do you watch back when you watch your matches back, I get a sense that you're very critical of your own work. Like you're your own worst enemy.
Oh,
that's
thing is, it's like that horrible thing. Like, I mean, I did acting, like I was saying. When you watch yourself back, you're just like, oh, like it's not really a negative thing. It's just like, I have to watch myself back. But like with wrestling, obviously you've got to watch your matches, and not only do you have to watch your matches back, like you've got to watch your matches with other people, because obviously you want their feedback, because they're going to see a million things that you don't see. But like, I think the really hard thing, like, and maybe a lot of newer wrestlers will find this as well, is like, you'll be so good in training, like you'll be so on, and like everything will be flowing, and then sometimes when you have a match in front of a crowd, like there'll be things that you're great at that you weren't in training, but there'll be things that you do so smoothly in training that just weren't that good. And like you watch it back, and the reason it's so frustrating is because you're better. Like you're like, I know I'm better than this. And you won't notice the good things. You're like, I mean, I guess it's kind of good, because you're always going to be like holding yourself to account and always getting better. But like, it's one of those things where it's just like, I watch it back and I just, I'm like, I hate this, like, oh, like every little detail, I'm like, and then I just constantly am like trying to improve things and change things, which it's like, it's a good thing and a bad thing, because it's good because you're always going to get better, but it can be a bit of a bad thing because you're never going to be like pleased with yourself, are you? But that's what I mean. That's why that Monica match for me was so reassuring, because for the first time in my life, I was like, yeah, I'm proud of that. Normally I'm not.
Well, I mean, I'm sure there's more matches that you've done well in, but like when you are like that, it's very hard to enjoy watching stuff back that you're in. Like it's just one of those things. Like a couple of guys I spoke to that are quite new, just breaking in, I always tell them, because they really don't like watching their matches back for the same reasons.
Got to. Oh.
But I said to them, I said, like, try to, don't have the volume on, keep the volume down, and you should be able to tell without, like, a stranger should be able to watch your match, and if they can identify who's playing what story without any noise, you're probably on the right track. That'll help you first of all. But yeah, I mean, just watching yourself back is a very tough thing. I did acting for a little while as well, and I can recall those moments, my auditions, and they'd send me the tapes, and I was like, oh my God. Because you've only got, like, when you're in there or you go for an audition, you literally, or it's just you, maybe the director and another guy, and then a freaking camera that's just going to go around you like nobody's business. And all you're seeing from your perception is just, you come out and you think, I don't know how that went, because I was just in my zone or I was nervous or whatever. And then they send you the tape, like they'll give you a review on it, and you're like, oh Christ, like I've got to sit down and watch this, and it's just awful.
Yeah.
I've never got to grips with it, and even some short films I did, like when I would watch myself